Hello, friends. Welcome back to the channel. It's me, Dale. And I recorded a couple of videos on another computer, but it's too high quality of a computer, so it was like picking up all kinds of like extra sounds, and the video quality is a little different, though it's kind of amazing on the other computer. It's almost like black and white with just certain colors highlighted, like the most vibrant colors. So I kind of love it, but also I'm going to stick with this one just because there's so many sounds in the environment that we're feeding in on that computer. So let's read Healthy Ketosis and Intermittent Fasting, a simple overview. And this is by Dr. Berg. Check him out on YouTube if you are interested. But I just want to give you, I think that this is like the basis of, I think that this works for everybody, period. Okay. I don't think that you need to stay in ketosis all the time, but let's just start out at the beginning. There's a lot of pictures and stuff. So we may not get this all done in one reading, but we may, because I don't think it's going to take too long. Let me ask you a question. What came first, obesity or a state of unhealth? Was it the chicken or the egg? And fact, if you eat chicken and eggs, you're pretty much on a good ketogenic diet, except that chicken, it's got a lot of protein and not a lot of fat. So if you're going to be eating chicken, then you should make sure that you are eating the fattier parts of the chicken, which is dark meat. Okay. Anyway, do you lose weight to get healthy, or do you get healthy to lose weight? I want to introduce you to an important new concept which completely contradicts what you've been taught about weight loss. It's not lose weight to get healthy. It's get healthy to lose weight. Obesity is a symptom, not a root cause. Loss of excess weight is a natural byproduct of getting healthy. Likewise, obesity is always the result of a basic health problem. So, to lose excess weight, the process must start with getting healthy. Let me explain. Trying to lose weight to get healthy is putting the cart before the horse. If you focus on losing weight, this may or may not result in healthy actions. Starting your weight loss medication, pills, low calorie, nutrient deprived frozen meals, low fat soups, and salads with low fat dressing, all on a 1,000 calorie a day diet, might not raise your state of health even 1%. Usually, it will reduce your health. Weight loss mistakes. And there's where everything goes wrong because low calorie diets slow the metabolism, causing the weight to come back and making it harder and harder to lose in the future. Low calories means lowered nutrients, resulting in lowered health. To many people, losing weight and dieting are associated with eating things like these: prepackaged soy-based protein powders, protein bars containing huge amounts of hidden sugars, low-calorie, nutrient-deficient, high-carb meals, think frozen low-fat dinners, high-sugar, high-carb liquid diet shakes, low-fat puffed rice cakes, appetite suppressants, and stimulants. Don't buy into the low-calorie, low-fat myth. We've experienced the failure of this experiment for at least the last 3 decades. And just take a look at society's health, okay, in the last 3 decades. Go back and watch TV shows like Seinfeld, anything from the 80s or 90s, and everybody, there was usually like one overweight person, like George Costanza from Seinfeld or Newman. It was like, and they weren't even that overweight by kind of like if you just look around at the general population now. Okay. Don't buy in. Yeah, just ask any person who has yo-yo dieted most of their life. They always gain more weight, reaching a new level of obesity they never imagined. That's because dieting slows your metabolism. Unhealthy attempts at losing weight burn off the muscles in your legs and butt without budging the middle section. Your extra weight is not the problem. It's a symptom of something very unhealthy going on in your body. What is the best diet? My whole mission has been teaching others what to eat to be healthy, but the concept of what food you should eat to get healthy has as many different viewpoints as there are stars in the sky. So the question is this: what is the best diet for you? Why don't we start with the basic definition of the word food? Eating healthily begins with understanding the definition of food, which gives us its purpose. Food is a noun. That which is eaten to sustain life, provide energy, and promote the growth and repair of tissues, nourishment. So we eat food in order to, one, provide energy, fuel, and two, nourish the body, meaning to provide nutrients. Let's first talk fuel. You have a choice. Do you know you can run your body on either sugar fuel or fat fuel? You can. Which one is better? Sugar fuel is like running your body on diesel, dirty fuel. However, fat fuel is like running your body on electric power. It's clean, non toxic, and more efficient fuel than that can provide even more energy than sugar. And most people have quite a bit of unused fat that is potential energy ready to be burned. Nearly all people rely on too many carbs, sugar fuel, and so get into trouble, ending up with blood sugar problems. 1 out of 3 people in the US has either pre-diabetes or diabetes. Between meals, the goal is to run our bodies on our own fat. The best diet for weight loss would be one that allows your body to tap into its fat reserves. Now, let's cover nutrients. The types of nutrients you need for health are vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, proteins, amino acids, and healthy fats, fatty acids. Nutrients are the helper substance that build body tissue and organs and allow all the chemical reactions to occur in the body. Your body requires certain amounts of nutrients, and those are called recommended daily allowances, RDAs. It would be a logical thing to do a diet based on getting those required nutrients, right? Then it seems we should 1, eat foods that cause us to use our own fat reserves, 2, eat foods that provide all the nutrients our bodies require. The plan that I have put together to improve health uses powerful strategies. The first one is switching your body to run on fat fuel. This is called ketosis. More on this in a bit. Another strategy is intermittent fasting, IF. Intermittent fasting at first doesn't sound exciting and even sounds like you have to deprive yourself. However, it's not deprivation at all, and you are about to find out about its huge health benefits, which go way beyond weight loss, just weight loss. The problem: our entire lives, we've been taught that the body energy comes solely from glucose, carbohydrates. This is totally false information. Glucose, sugar, is actually a secondary or alternative source of energy. It was never intended to be used the way we use it today. The primary source of energy is ketones, or fat fuel, which is the byproduct of burning fat. Think about it. Your body carries around a tremendous amount of stored fuel known as fat, about 70,000 calories worth. And that's on a skinny person. Yet it has fewer than 1,700 calories of stored sugar called glycogen. It would be crazy for the body to rely on the short supply of sugar fuel. Reliance on sugar fuel is why we love to snack all day long. And here's an important side note: the amount of sugar we need in our bodies to keep the blood sugar number normal is only 1 teaspoon for all of the blood in the body, about 1 1/3 gallons of blood. And that tiny amount of sugar could come from eating vegetables or even protein. In reality, we do not need any sugar in our food at all. Yet the average person consumes 31 teaspoons of sugar, 31 teaspoons of sugar, and you only need one? Oh my gosh. Okay. Yet the average person consumes 31 teaspoons of sugar and hidden sugar each day. Our bodies do not have the ability to cope with the toxic amounts of sugar we consume. The body reacts very badly to excess sugar. Just look at what happens to a diabetic: artery damage, vision damage, nerve and kidney damage. So, fat fuel is a much more efficient, cleaner, and healthier fuel than sugar, and you already have a ready supply of it. How do you switch over to fat burning? It's actually very simple. You merely need to bring down to normal you merely need to bring down to normal the hormone that controls sugar. This hormone is called insulin. Okay, so insulin is a hormone that controls sugar. Insulin. Hang on. Okay. Insulin is the body's main hormone switch. It determines which fuel you will use, fat or sugar. If insulin is high, now remember, it's a hormone. So if the hormone is high, no fat will be burned, only sugar. If insulin is low, fat will be used exclusively as fuel. What exactly is insulin? Insulin is a hormone, which is a body message, okay? Because your hormones send signals to your body to do things. It's a message that is made by the pancreas, which is located under your left rib cage. Look at insulin as a key that allows sugar, which is glucose, into your cells. Okay? How does insulin work? So, this is insulin. It's the key to allow sugar into the cells. Insulin is the key that unlocks the glucose channel. All right? Insulin does 6 main things and a lot of minor things too. 1, it acts as a key to open the door, allowing cells to get sugar fuel. 2, it lowers excess sugar in the blood after eating. 3, it stores sugars in the liver and muscles. Stored glucose is called glycogen. Okay. So the more you learn about words, you'll start to see like the root words that show up. But anything that ends in OSE is a sugar, like lactose intolerance. You need to have like the enzyme for it in order. Okay. Anyway, it converts, okay, number 4, it converts excess sugar to fat, especially around the belly and cholesterol. 5, it allows protein, amino acids into the cell. 6, it allows minerals into the cell, especially potassium. Okay. So just take a look at the pictures. Right? Right. Insulin is the main fat making hormone, and in its presence, no fat can be burned. Insulin stores fat mainly in your midsection. In fact, your belly size is the best measurement of how much insulin you have in your bloodstream. In this booklet, I will refer to glucose and sugar interchangeably because they are basically the same thing. The faster the body breaks down food into sugar, the higher the insulin response. There is even a scale called the glycemic index that measures the spike of sugar in the blood. The main trigger of insulin is carbohydrates. You eat carbs, and they turn into sugar, raising glucose in the blood. That triggers insulin to whisk in and do its job of lowering blood sugar, as seen in the next diagram. Okay, all right, I'll read through it. All right, what does normal blood sugar mean? When you get your blood sugar tested, when you get your blood sugar level tested, normal range is between 80 milligrams per deciliter and 100 milligrams per deciliter. I think that's what DL stands for. Or Dale in right here. It's right. Okay. But what do these numbers mean? So you can see on the scale, it's like that is normal, right? And then the low carbohydrate meal, just kind of like you can see it goes above normal and below, but the curve is much closer to normal than this, which is like a high carb meal. Okay. So, but what do these numbers mean? If your blood sugar is normal, it means that you have roughly 1 heaping tablespoon of sugar in your blood. An average person has about 1 1/3 gallons of blood in their body. Okay, so that is just the visual image of it. 1 teaspoon in that much blood. All right, think about if that was filled with just water. Would you even really be able to taste it? 1 teaspoon? It's not that much. Okay, it's not. All right. As you can see, we barely need any sugar at all, right? Actually, that 1 teaspoon of sugar can even come from non-carbohydrate sources like protein. But we have said that the average person in the US consumes 31 teaspoons of sugar each and every day. Just imagine how hard insulin has to work to remove this massively excessive amount of sugar from the blood. It has to work 31 times harder. That's insane. Even more crazy is that the American Diabetes Association, ADA, recommends foods that I'm sorry, my brain was like ADA, Air Defense Artillery, if you were in the military. Okay. Recommends foods that equate to over 50 teaspoons of sugar. The American Diabetes Association recommends foods that equate to over 50 teaspoons of sugar per day. Okay. This is like the organization that is supposed to be helping people not get diabetes. All right. All right. And the American Heart Association, the USDA Food Pyramid, and the Obesity Society all recommend a similar eating plan, high carbs. Fact, diabetes is the disease of too much sugar in the blood. Medical texts call it hyperglycemia, a word made from hyper, which means excess, and glycemia, glucose in the blood. How could you cure too much sugar by adding more? As a diabetic, you are put on medication. This medication lowers your blood sugar, but not your body sugar, only the sugar in your blood. In other words, diabetic medication takes sugar out of the blood and puts it in other places in your body. Think about it like this. Let's say you have dirty dishes, and instead of washing them, you stick them under the sink, in your cupboards, and in the pantry. Eventually, your house is going to stink. This is exactly what diabetic medication does. It removes sugar from the blood and puts it somewhere else. The true cause gets hidden. Your body copes with excess blood sugar and insulin. When you consume lots of sugar and have higher levels of insulin on a continuing basis, your cells try to protect you and eventually start resisting or ignoring insulin. Remember, insulin is the key that allows glucose into the cell. So, Your cells prevent insulin from working in order to prevent excessive sugar in the cell. This is your body saying, if you're going to keep eating sugar, I will block it. I will block it at a cellular level. Insulin resistance is a protective mechanism. Over time, an elevated blood sugar and insulin level causes your cells to block or resist insulin. Your body considers sugar to be toxic and will protect you by stopping it from entering your cells. This is called insulin resistance. It causes the problem of your cells becoming deprived of glucose fuel. So they stay hungry and crave carbs, and so do you. All right. So a normal cell, right? The sugar would be the fuel. It allows it in because insulin is allowing it in. But if you're taking in too much fuel, the cell doesn't want it. So the insulin is, it can't process it. So the insulin's like, I'm not letting that in, right? Or the insulin resistance. Okay. Since the cells need fuel but cannot get it, the pancreas has to compensate by producing more insulin so the cells can get a little more fuel. Insulin resistance makes your pancreas work too hard. In fact, insulin resistance forces the pancreas to produce 5 to 7 times more insulin than it should normally. So we have a situation where the body has way too much insulin in the blood, yet the insulin is not able to do its job in the cells either. The cells are resisting it. As a result, the body keeps making more and more insulin. These hormones are on a constant feedback loop, sending and receiving messages of sugar is high, release more insulin, must lower blood sugar from the body to stay alive. Low blood sugars. Think about what's happening. Your cells are resisting insulin, causing your body to make a lot more. With all this extra insulin in your blood, you could experience low blood sugars. This is called hypoglycemia, a word made from hypo, which means low, and glycemia, glucose in the blood. Hypoglycemia is caused by too much insulin in the blood and is a pre-diabetic symptom. Signs of hypoglycemia include cravings for carbs and sweets, being irritable, moody, or depressed, having vision problems, being hungry or dizzy, and the list goes on and on. Your brain is the first organ to feel the effects of low blood sugars. Okay. So I would say that, like, that would be people who are overweight. You know how there's like two types of diabetics, and maybe it'll get into it as we get further on, but there's some who are like um thin, and then there's some who are overweight. It's not the same type of insulin problems or sugar problems, okay? Sorry, I'm just kicking my feet up and kicking the desk as we go. All right. So, low blood sugars. Okay. Hypoglycemia is caused by too much insulin in the blood and is a pre-diabetic symptom. Signs of hypoglycemia include craving for carbs and sweets. Okay. So this, I'm reading this again so that you can identify, do you feel these things within yourself? Being irritable, moody, or depressed, having vision problems, being hungry or dizzy, and the list goes on and on. Your brain is the first organ to feel the effects of low blood sugars. Oh, I couldn't pause it in time. Okay. Important. Your blood sugars could be normal or low because of the overcompensation of insulin. This can cause your doctor to fail to identify the early signs of prediabetes, so you have to know yourself well enough. All right. Um, the problem is that as this continues, the pancreas eventually stops compensating, becomes exhausted, and makes less and less insulin, allowing the sugar in your blood to go higher and higher. So, the first stage of insulin resistance is normal or low blood sugars due to excessive compensating insulin. Okay. Then this is followed by higher and higher blood sugars as you lose the ability to compensate for the sugar with insulin. This is called diabetes. Take a look at the pictures. Okay. Okay. I want you to have time to like really get an understanding of this. Type 2 diabetes is higher levels of blood sugars due to insulin resistance. Type 2 diabetes are given a medication to reduce the cell's resistance to insulin. As things worsen over time, type 2 diabetics are then put on insulin. Why? Because the pancreas is too exhausted to produce it. This problem could easily be caught if your doctor would test your fasting insulin levels in addition to your fasting glucose levels, but the doctor rarely does. Insulin is usually high well before your blood sugars become high. I'm going to pause for a train. Okay. All this happens gradually and does not show up on blood tests until months or years later. In the meantime, however, insulin resistance symptoms will manifest in other ways. For example, tiredness after meals, belly fat, anxiety, fatigue, cravings, desire to snack after meals, moodiness if not fed, bladder issues, brain fog. This woman is hangry, right? Take a look at those things. But the meal that he's eating really wouldn't cause that problem. Okay. It would be like I notice it right away if I eat something like bread. Oh my gosh, I am like within 5 minutes so tired and cranky. So I haven't been eating bread, or carbohydrates like that since when did the Atkins diet come out, right? It was like the 90s. So anyway, but if I want it, then I have it sometimes. And I make it myself because when you make bread at home, it's it doesn't take that long, okay? It's made out of like 3 ingredients, and if you're not making it often, you can spend money on healthier wheat flour, okay? All right, anyway, I'm not gonna get all into that right now. Anyway, these are also the symptoms of high insulin, insulin resistance, hypoglycemia, and the initial stages of diabetes type 2 all have one thing in common: high insulin, okay? The worst advice to give a person with high insulin is to eat too many carbs. In 1971, the American Diabetic Association recommended that your carbohydrates should be 45% of your daily calories. In 1986, they recommended that carbohydrates be 60%. In 1994, they allowed table sugar and sugar added to foods to be part of your total carbohydrates. Do you remember like Snackwells and all that stuff when they first started coming out? When they were saying that like fat was the problem, so they were just loading things with sugar and taking away all the fat. Enter the problem, like the era of obesity, right? And then it's like, then they said that, oh my gosh, okay. You may wonder why our country is so fat phobic and not as concerned about the massively high levels of dietary sugar. Well, check this out. Some documents were recently found in the basement of Harvard University revealing that two of the school's most famous nutritionists collaborated with the sugar industry and ended up getting paid to downplay sugar's role in coronary heart disease, despite studies showing the opposite. On top of that, many of this research studies supporting sugar were directly sponsored by the sugar industry. So, fat and cholesterol took the blame. Of course, years later, we're realizing that it was never the cholesterol. Duh, duh. It's like that's always how it's going to be. We always have problems associated with like what the government subsidizes for farmers to grow, right? Like soy, wheat, okay? They're going to encourage you to eat the things that they are subsidizing so that more farmers will grow it because these are like the top crops where they can produce tons of them. And they're also associated with what people are most allergic to. If you watch allergies develop, okay. Eating carbohydrates, wait, fact, an average American per 2014 data consumes 131 pounds of added sugar annually, which works out to 22 teaspoons per day. That's even less than what they were saying before, the 31 teaspoons. The key word is added. This is on top of hidden sugars from grains, which, by the way, equate to 56 pounds per year. I feel like that number is lower than what people are actually eating. Roughly 0.15 pounds per day. Eating carbohydrates is the main trigger for insulin. And if you want to lose weight, it's important to remember that insulin is the main fat making hormone because it converts carbs into fat, especially true for belly fat and visceral fat, which is the fat around the organs. So sometimes when you're losing fat and you're losing weight, you're losing it around the organs first, okay, before it shows up in your body. Fact, if you see someone with belly fat, period, they have too much insulin, exclamation point. If you see someone with belly fat, they have too much insulin. The body shows symptoms of what the problem is. Belly fat. Now, let's get into some other aspects of insulin that are important to you. If you don't know what belly fat looks like, there you go. The cellular absorption of nutrients. Insulin is needed to help cells absorb nutrients such as potassium, magnesium, and amino acids, protein. In fact, almost every nutrient is influenced by insulin. Potassium is needed for energy, for balancing sodium in the body, and for all kinds of other important things. We need amino acids for hair, skin, nails, joints, and muscles. We need magnesium for a healthy heart. See where I'm going? When you have insulin resistance, you not only starve the cell of fuel, but you also become deficient in nutrients and protein. How can you create health on top of this problem? In addition to the substances named above, insulin resistance can cause deficiencies of various other nutrients: vitamin A, B vitamins, especially B1 and B12, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamins K1 and K2, calcium, omega 3 fatty acids. Getting all of these nutrients can actually reduce insulin resistance, but insulin resistance can prevent the cells from absorbing them. So that's the important thing. It's like, okay, if we're just looking at it from a standpoint of like, you need more of these vitamins, then people will take the vitamins because they hear that that's what the problem is, but your body still can't absorb them. So you're just wasting money on vitamins that you're consuming. Okay. One of the terrible symptoms of diabetes is peripheral neuropathy. That's a condition where the nerves in the feet and hands are destroyed, leading to burning pain and numbness. The sensation of pins and needles. This is a B1 and B12 deficiency. B vitamins in general help prevent the damage from high blood sugar and insulin. Actually, vitamin B1 normally protects the cells from some of the symptoms of high sugar and insulin. There is great research data to show that taking a fat soluble form of B1, benfotiamine, can even reverse some of the damage, nerve pain, for example, from high sugar. However, refined sugars and grains actually deplete vitamin B1. It's when you become deficient that the complications start. Insulin resistance can deplete vitamin C in the body, weakening the vascular wall. If there's not enough vitamin C, you lose collagen, which keeps your arteries strong, triggering a cascade of events: bad cholesterol, called LDL, calcium, and white blood cells all start forming a bandage plaque, which is known as clogged artery. But the plaque is the effect of the damage caused by high insulin. So let me just show you some pictures. Great. Right, let's look at that one. All right. Do you see? Do you see? That's the plaque and that's the artery. Okay. Vitamins A and K, or I'm sorry, A and D, K1 and K2, all reduce insulin resistance. Potassium, magnesium, and calcium also lessen the resistance of insulin, working at the cellular level. This is why the focus on consuming high nutrient dense foods and creating health needs to come first. And weight loss is merely one benefit of getting healthy. By the way, not to get off topic, but did you know that cancer and tumors can only live on sugar? Okay. Every single one of the problems listed below can be caused by chronic high levels of insulin: type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, dementia, and Alzheimer's, fatty liver, obesity. Okay. So then they have pictures of all these things. The importance of pictures is that it helps you to absorb it into your brain as opposed to the words. Okay. So look. High insulin is the underlying cause of the biggest health problems we experience today. I want to show you a comparison of the USDA plate to a healthy ketosis plate so you can have a bird's eye view of what you will be doing. All right. So the vegetables are taking up on that healthy ketosis. It's so funny. All right. Vegetables are half the plate. Okay. Half the plate. No, sorry, half the plate here, whereas it's like a quarter of the plate on this side, right? This is dairy. Hopefully you can see it on the myplate.gov, all right? This is carbs, okay? So it's like not even equivalent, it's like less carbs than dairy. But where are carbohydrates on this one? Fruits, oh, it doesn't really do it like that. All right. So grains and protein right here, grains and protein on the My Plate one, and then you've got fat and protein. So the majority of your food can be vegetables and fat, and then not a lot of protein because protein can convert into a sugar if you're consuming too much. But for the My Plate, it's showing fruits and vegetables, grains and protein and dairy. Okay. Okay. All right. If you look at the USDA example of what your plate might consist of myplate.gov, you will notice several big problems, such as their guidelines for vegetables and grains. The recommendation for quantity of vegetables is only 2 to 2.5 cups of vegetables per day, which is not enough. Which, how many people are actually doing that anyway? Do you know? It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway. FYI, an average American consumes only 1.6 cups of vegetables per day, and they allow your vegetables to be in the form of a V8 juice or potato or canned vegetables. Potatoes can raise your blood sugar, and the V8 and canned vegetables are both pasteurized, cooked at high temperatures, so they're destroying many of the nutrients. Fruits can be canned or even in the form of fruit juice. Again, way too much sugar. Or the USDA is saying, or the myplate.gov is saying that you can have these things like in lower nutrient forms because they're saying that it's all the same. It's not all the same. All right. Um, but the worst recommendation is grains. The dietary guidelines recommend 6 to 7 ounces of grains per day. They say half of them should be in the form of whole grains. This leaves 3 ounces of refined grains. Examples of grains: 6 to 7 ounces. 1 ounce is one slice of bread. 1 ounce is 1 cup of ready to eat cereal. 1 ounce is, so these are all 1 ounce. So I'm just going to go through and read what they're. One slice of bread, 1 cup of ready to eat cereal, one pancake, half of a cup of cooked rice, half of a cup of cooked pasta. Dude, what do you think the amount is that they're giving you when you order one meal from a restaurant? Do you think it's only half of a cup? Okay. Or do you think, like, if it's 1 cup, are you only consuming half of the serving? A half of an English muffin. Oh, it's so sad. All their nooks and crannies, and you can only eat a half for 1 ounce, one small piece of cornbread, 5 whole wheat crackers, 3 cups of popcorn. Okay, 3 cups of popcorn. That's why they recommend popcorn for snacking, is because you get a larger quantity so you can snack for longer. It makes you feel like you're having more. So, when multiplied by 6 or 7, this is going to add up. Many people don't realize that these foods turn into sugar at a very high rate. Thus, they are hidden sugars. All right, so how do we lower insulin? One, eliminate sugar. This really does mean eliminating all sugar from the diet. The key is bringing your dietary sugar down to zero. There are acceptable sweet alternatives. The three I recommend that are easy to get are stevia, non GMO erythritol, and non GMO xylitol. Avoid these: table sugar, cane and beet, fructose, honey, brown sugar, agave nectar, dextrose, maltodextrin, high fructose corn syrup, maple syrup, rice syrup, juice, and alcohol. So the one thing that I will say about all these sweeteners, it's like if you're having a hard time eliminating sugar from your diet, you can eat fruit, it's like it's a step down process. But what I would say is look for high quality honeys on this whole list. The only one that is, like, not processed is honey, okay? Like maple syrup and all these other things, you take, like, the, sap from a tree, or, when you tap a maple tree for syrup, it, like, produces all of this water. It's basically all this water that is flowing out from the tree that then they have to boil down an incredible amount of it to get to a very small amount of syrup. So I would say if you are having a hard time letting go of sugar completely and you still want some type of natural sweetener, then go with honey because, but look for good honey. All right. So eliminate the hidden sugars. Two, let me just show you the pictures. Okay. So that's like refined sugar. And then those are all refined sugars, except for honey. I would consider that unrefined. And then these are hidden sugars because it doesn't look like sugar. It doesn't taste just sweet like candy. So, four hidden carbohydrates that many people don't consider: one, grains; two, starches; three, fruits; and four, legumes, beans. Okay. Grains to avoid include breads, pasta, cereal, even oatmeal, crackers, biscuits, pancakes, and waffles. Even if something is gluten free, it's still a grain. Gluten is the protein in grains. Um, you want to avoid all grains, including oats, wheat, barley, Ezekiel bread, sprouted bread, and quinoa. Exception: small amounts of rye crisp bread the kind with about 4 grams of carbohydrates in each. This is net carbs, which is the total carbohydrate minus the fiber. Starches to avoid include white and red potatoes, sweet potato, yams, white and brown rice, corn, even though it's a vegetable, and cornstarch. Did you know that those puffed rice cereals or puffed rice cakes have glycemic responses that are near the top of the charts? It's like people don't even really like eating them. They think it's diet food, but it's like spiking your blood sugar. Fruits to avoid include apples, bananas, pineapple, pear, dates, figs, grapes, and raisins, and fruit juices, orange, grape, and apple juice, even tomato juice. Exception, small amounts, 1/2 to 1 cup of berries per day. Legumes to avoid include beans. Exception, hummus, but make sure it's not made with soy or canola oil. 3, eliminate the combination of sugar or refined carbs with protein. That's worse than consuming, or what's worse than consuming carbs? Combining sugar or refined carbs with protein can spike insulin by 200% or more. Avoid these combinations: hamburger with bun, hot dog with bun, protein/bread, combos in general, burger with fries, burger with ketchup. Most condiments are packed with sugar except for mustard, burger with soda, sweet and sour pork, breaded meats, beef jerky unless it has no sugar, deli meats unless they have no sugar, spaghetti and meatballs, lasagna, eggs and toast, sandwiches, barbecue, chicken wings with sugary coatings, cheese, and crackers, except rye crisp bread with about 4 grams net carbs in each. And so I don't think it's on here, but bacon, there's a lot of bacon that has sugar in it. So when you are like cooking the bacon, it is caramelizing these sugars that are in it, and it's like it's just creating something that's detrimental to your health, whereas bacon without sugar in it is good for your health on a ketogenic diet within reason. 4, eliminate MSG, another hidden sugar. Monosodium glutamate, MSG, is a flavor enhancing chemical, meaning that it makes food taste better than it actually is. The way it works is to enlarge your taste buds. I didn't know this, to enhance the perception of the savory taste. It's in many, many foods at the grocery store and fast food restaurants, not to mention Chinese and many other restaurants. You have to realize it can be listed under other names too: modified cornstarch and modified starch, and about 11 additional names. So read your labels. Even commercial cottage cheese has modified cornstarch. MSG can spike insulin by 300%, even though it's not carbohydrate. Eliminate artificial sweeteners. Avoid aspartame. Equal is also dangerous. Equal, like aspartame. And it's in many diet sodas. Avoid saccharin, commonly found in powdered diet sweeteners. Although these are sugar-free, they can spike insulin. Many people have been drinking diet soda for years without knowing the effects of these artificial sweeteners. Sugar alcohols are much better. Non-GMO erythritol and xylitol are great. There are others too. Stevia is the best since it has a zero glycemic effect. You can even get soda flavored xylitol uh, that you can add to water to enjoy the taste of a soft drink without the insulin spike. And if you go out and start looking at the labels for these things, you will see that the healthier things are more expensive. And that's because it's like harder to produce healthier things. Okay. So if something is cheaper, or if it is like taking over the market, right, like diet sodas that are more common, you will see that they have aspartame in them or some other version of a cheap non-caloric sweetener. But just because it doesn't have calories doesn't mean it doesn't spike your blood sugar. Okay. So 6, switch from lean, low-fat protein to higher fat version. You may have already heard about the scale known as the glycemic index, but you may never have heard of the insulin index. This scale rates all the non-carbohydrate triggers of insulin, and the big one is zero fat protein for and the and the big one is zero fat protein. For example, in whey protein powder. This is interesting because we have been brainwashed into thinking that low fat or lean protein is healthier for you. The fattier the animal protein, the lower the effect on insulin. Did you get that? The fattier the protein, the lower the insulin response. So, when consuming protein, go for the higher fat version. This includes cheese, dairy, meats, fattier fish, etc. It would also be better to leave the skin on the chicken if possible. 7. Avoid excess amounts of protein. Another trigger of insulin is large quantities of protein. This was one of the issues with Atkins' diet. The optimum amount of protein per meal is about 3 to 6 ounces. Protein is needed for repairing and providing the raw material for muscles, tendons, joint, cartilage, and even bone. Protein can also be used for fuel. However, too much triggers insulin and can be converted to sugar and then to fat. Common question people have is, should I not be consuming lots of protein to build should I not be consuming lots of protein to build my muscles? The liver can only handle so much, and keeping your protein to a moderate amount is all you need. To build muscle, you also need to have normal amounts of insulin, which is why diabetics many times lose their muscle and become flabby. 8. Avoid genetically modified soy and corn oil. Unfortunately, very commonly consumed oils such as soy, canola, and corn can trigger insulin resistance. Um, if oil is not organic, it's likely to be genetically modified. Try to find a salad dressing or condiment without these oils. Good luck. Most of the soy and corn are sold for animal feeds. So you could also be getting GMOs indirectly through your meat. Another reason to go organic. 9. Avoid eating too frequently. Did you realize eating in general triggers insulin? It is not a good idea to eat 5 or 6 small meals per day. This spikes insulin big time and prevents you from correcting insulin resistance. Snacking and grazing late at night are the worst. The solution to this is intermittent fasting. More on intermittent fasting follows. Okay. So those were all the problems. That's the section of the book that lists off the problems. Next is the solution. So I'm going to leave this off at that and then I will read the solution section. All right. I hope you are enjoying the truth. I know you might not like it because you want to know, like, why wouldn't they be telling me the truth? Why are they feeding me all these lies and I'm investing in it? It's because they can, right? Love you. Bye.